All right, I'm gonna get started. I know there's not very many people, but I'm recording it so they can watch later. All right, nobody here. I think people are coming. No, we had 12 or 14 confirm on the calendar. What's that? Yeah. All right. So, oh, it's not changing. There we go. So we know today is Remembrance Day. I have an alarm set. If for some reason the meeting does go until 11, I will pause for a moment of silence. But if we wrap up before then you're on your own for your moment of silence. Okay. Lots of sessions still coming up. Too many for me to list. Last Friday we did like a kind of a roundtable for newer agents, but it was focused on people that have been in for less than 3 years, and we had a couple people that were more experienced that join in. It was actually really well received, and a few of them asked for it to be regular, so we are going to make it a monthly thing, and anybody's welcome to join, and we'll just circle through the different branches. It was really good. But this week, on Wednesday, it'll be virtual. Enriched Academy is having their mastering credit session. This is something that Meadowtown offers all of you. So it's Meadowtown has paid for the expense of it. You all have membership. Can watch the past recordings. But if you're interested, just scan that QR code. You can sign up on Wednesday. There'll be an email that goes out as well. FINTRAC update. This is the last week I'll bring this up. FINTRAC training is mandatory. It's the one type of training that we can force you to do, or we have to let you go. But that will be this Thursday again over Zoom. If you cannot make it, good morning. Please let me know, and we will get the recording out to you. But you have to do this at some point soon. So FinTrack training, we do it every year. Nothing new. I like the sweater. What's next? Building relationships through community. I'm looking forward to this one. This is where I had the most success. So Alex will be hosting it here. Hopefully we'll still have these comfy chairs for them. But Imran Hassan will be hosting. Being interviewed by Alex. And on December 12th, we have our Christmas luncheon. Please RSVP. I don't know when. Oh, RSVP by November 29th. Has everybody RSVP'd yet? You're all going to make it, right? No? All right. Nice try. I tried. And Monday, November 25th, will be the second part of LOCN's Google My Business workshop. So it's doing Google citations and stuff. Part one was last month. This is going to be a 6-part series. It is pretty good, pretty important. A lot of people have their Google pages out of date, and this is a good method for increasing your SEO. You will get an email for that registration. It will be virtual. Kyra Lidkie, Alex's wife, will be doing another session on November 28th, just on health and wellness and building up your resilience for the winter blues. I get pretty sick every winter, so expect me to cough all over you. And December 2nd will be our business planning day. So the last couple of years, we brought in Storm Fletcher from the Richard Robbins Academy. This year, we're bringing in Webb. So this one will be virtual instead of live. Wade is the broker owner for Royal LePage Kelowna. Business planning is something he's done years and years of. So that'll be Monday, December 2nd at 9:30. And you will get an invitation to that morning in the near future. So just block off December 2nd. It's important. All right. Anybody have anything to announce before I get into the top producers? No? All right. So top producers, we're just going to do the month. This comes up every year. People wonder why I'm not doing the awards year to date. It's because this week is the awards cutoff for the awards year, November 15th. So if you have any closings on November 14th or 15th and you want it to count towards this year's awards, then start getting out to those lawyers because we can only count what's in the trust account on the 15th. And
Trying to save Scott from being told by his poppy.
oh yeah, your poppy fella. Yeah. And if you don't want any of these upcoming commissions to count towards this year, you want them for next year, then find some way to get the payment delayed by a couple days. So we don't announce the awards stuff anymore until February, so you just get the month. So the top producers for October: individual agents, number 10, Tobin Lifchus, number 9, Jabber. Congratulations. Number 8, Miro. Miro, I don't know if you remember, he did the car show here last month as well, said it went really well. So I think you made some contacts there as well. 124, 134 cars in the parking lot. The good ones this time, though, not the ones that drive into our building. Number 7, Sad Wally, who I saw here earlier. Oh, there. Papa Bear Sad, Papa Sad. Yeah, just if you didn't hear before, Sad just had a new little addition to his family 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Time flies. Number 6, Alexander Gesson. Number 5, Chantel McPhee, who I thought was going to be here. I don't see her yet. Number 4, Mike Weems, who's having a killer year. Number 3, Scott Brubaker. For those that didn't read the agenda today, Scott is also a special guest today. He's going to be giving a presentation on using ChatGPT to create natural language for your social media. Did I get that right? Yes, thank you. Number 2, Ursula Maida. And number 1, once again. Congratulations. Top 5 teams. Number 5, Panty. Did I see Ty here earlier? Congratulations. Number 4, Vivas Group. Number 3, Lions Family Realtors. Having a good year. Number 2, the Rob Kelly Group. And number 1, none other than Henderson. So congratulations to you all, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the awards year lands in a few days. Okay, some stats. Showing. So once again, it looks like when we look at the picture of all the offices together, it looks like showings were down, but they weren't. Mississauga was down, but Halton Hills had an increase of 16%, in addition to the 21% increase that they had last week. Milton was up 1%, in addition to the 11% that they were up the week before. So a lot of areas are still increasing in showings. Mississauga is down, and because Mississauga is such a big market area, it makes it look like it's pulling everybody down, but it's not the case. So if you're interested in specific markets, you can come and see me after, and we'll look up the stats for other markets as well. Yeah. Oh, we'll get there. Days on market came down by half a day, so relatively stable. And new listings are increasing, which is the opposite of what was happening last year. So there's 32% more a surge in listings. So which I think is good news for buyers that are in the market. Sellers might not love it, but buyers, it means that those rates have been kind of coming down and stabilizing, and they're getting more choice as well. So
that's through the entire area.
This is for Mississauga, Milton, Halton Hills, right? So yeah. So we do one for the markets that our offices are in. So, but I can get you the data anywhere you need. But the further out you go from the GTA, the less reliable it is. So just comparing to the same week last year, I think this is really interesting. 49% more showings last week than compared to the same week a year ago. So that's a huge increase. And the homes that are selling, they're selling faster. So 3 days faster than they were last fall. Now, the other aspect of that is because that part is good, there's 42% more listings last week than the same week last year. So overall, I think it's good news. It's good. Those are good indicators for the market going forward. Now, to answer Pinder's question, Mississauga was down 7%. So showings decreased by 7%, and they were down 5% the week before. So it's been 2 consecutive weeks of declining showings. Actually, if you look, it's actually no, yeah, two consecutive weeks. Days on market went down about 3 days, and new listings were up about 34% in Mississauga. Now, how did that translate to sales? Unit sales were up in Halton Hills, went from 12 to 15 sales. Milton's increased from 23 to 29, which is exactly where it was 2 weeks ago as well. And Mississauga went up as well. So even though Mississauga showings went down, I'll get back to the 2023 versus 2024 in a minute. Mississauga sales went up. So if you are remembering some of this data, Mississauga had 4 consecutive weeks of increasing sales, then a massive dip last week, and now it's crept back up again. So freehold sales went from 38 to 47 units. Condos went from 25 to 34 units. So good news. Even though the showings were down, the sales were up, which is what we really care about in the end, right? Looking at 2023 versus 2024, let's look at Mississauga. 57 sales for the same week a year ago, 81 last week. So that's an increase of 40%-ish. So that's a good increase in unit volume. Milton went from 19 to 29 sales, and Halton Hills is pretty close, but they're also up a couple of sales. So sales are looking much better this fall. I don't know if anybody is we all have recency bias. I don't know if anybody remembers the pain of last fall if everything just kind of stops. It's not what we're experiencing this year. So that's good news. Right, Sandra? Niagara, 7% increase in showings. Days on market, massive drop, 55 days to 36 days. 4% decrease in new listings, which kind of bucked the trend. Most markets, we've been seeing an increase in new listings, and a 28% decrease in unit sales. So as we're getting a little bit past outside of Halton, those numbers are not correlating with what we've been seeing in the GTA. Months of inventory, condo months of inventory in the West End held at 5%, and decreased in the rest of Toronto. So we're happy to see a bit of a decrease in the condo months of inventory. Last year, these numbers were really kind of going up fast at this point. Brampton down 0.3 and Mississauga up 0.2. Halton, Burlington was up, Milton held, and Oakville was way up. Oakville's, they seem to have a lot of projects coming to completion, so they've had at least 1 new building register in the last week. So that's part of what's creating that volatility in Oakville. Hamilton condo, Hamilton held fairly steady, only increase of 0.1. Niagara, it was nice to see a really significant drop in Niagara because Niagara was really starting to creep up quickly. Freeholds, seller's market across Toronto. So Toronto Center, 3.8, Toronto East held at 2.2, and Toronto West held at 2.6. Brampton and Mississauga both had 1.1 months of inventory increase. Halton, so Burlington is declining. Milton crept above that 3 months of inventory, and Oakville's up 0.4 there as well. And Halton Hills down 0.1, so they're inching closer and closer to that 3 months of inventory. Hamilton held, and Niagara, very little fluctuation, so pretty steady on the freehold market there. That's it I have for stats. Something that came up last week with Mo Hashim was a divorce listing. So I thought I would talk about it because we've had a few of them in the office this year. Divorce listings do come up. If you're capitalist, you'll hopefully see 3 transactions there. But in terms of how do you handle the conversation? So here's the scenario. You might receive a lead to list a home for sale. The sellers are going through a marital breakup, and let's say one spouse wants to use you and one will not trust anybody that spouse recommends. So I just want to talk about how you can have these discussions with people. I'm sure a lot of you have been through this before. I've been through it numerous times. when you're, somebody's got to pick somebody's going to have to agree on something. Can somebody start us out with how you might have this discussion? I knew you'd be first.
I think one piece of context there is, does the agent know either party?
Hmm.
So I think that changes the discussion completely
Yeah.
as to how I handle the situation.
Yeah.
I think if I don't, I mean, mind you, if I don't know either party especially, is gonna be, why am I the right person? It's stats.
Yeah.
Right, so that's when I come to Jason, get him to pull the software, how much do I move? How much more do I get from the listing price? What have I sold in the neighborhood? Why am I the right choice? To try to win that person over, to show them that I am the right choice, get your emotions out of it. It's not that, she likes me more and you don't. It's I'm the right person for the job. So we had one recently where, the wife was a little bit more fiery than the husband.
Hmm.
And, she was gonna be the challenge. And at first she was standoffish, and then we came in, luckily it was in Meadowvale. So I'm like, we're number one in Meadowvale. This is what I moved. You see my signs. This is how much we get for people, days on market. Here's what we, provide. And by the end of it, she was super thrilled and right on board, and we got the listing. And
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to, is why am I the right choice? And let's get our emotions out of it. And you have to prove to them. I brought up that I've done a lot of them. We
Mhm.
have to deal with a lot of divorces. I personally brought up, I used to my advantage, and I'm like, I've been through it personally, so I can understand, I can be empathetic, I know what it's like, personally, and then we do a lot of these as realtors, so I know how to be fair. You don't have to worry, I'll never tell you one thing that I won't tell the other party. Also, don't tell me anything you don't want the other one to know. If
Mhm.
anything he says to me, I'm gonna tell you, whatever you tell me, I'm gonna tell him. Don't tell me any secrets, and I'll be open and honest and transparent to both.
Great.
Usually I find that when there's a relationship, they pick you anyway, it doesn't matter your experience.
Really?
Who you are, doesn't matter.
I haven't had that experience. I had one, I'd say, I think it was around 2015, 14 or 15, where I was closer with the husband, but I knew both. And they still went with me. But I had to talk a lot about, confidentiality and secrets that I wouldn't share. So I would get into maybe I was a trustworthy face. I'm not sure, but I would talk about how it's not possible to help one without helping the other, right? You only have one asset to sell. It's one house, it's one property. I can't make him money and cost you money, right? The only way it's not equitable is if you're not dividing it equitably between you and your lawyers or mediators. But when it comes to the actual sale price or marketing or communication, I can't make it look like there's two different properties, right? It is, yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. True. Anybody else ever deal with a relationship breakup?
Give them a offer for a deal.
Hmm.
So like I sell one house and then I'll help both of them buy
Hmm.
and give them like a better rate. They do it that way. It's kind of incentive for them to work together because they're usually concerned with one.
Yeah. Well, if they're dealing with lawyers on the relationship part, they're hemorrhaging money, right? So, yeah. Yeah. Yes, Jim. Hmm.
One agent represents your side, the other agent represents the other side.
Like each spouse or
Yeah,
the
each
buyer? Yeah. You're stealing my thunder. We're getting that in a couple slides. No, that's okay.
We have one currently where the wife didn't want to use us. She feels that I'm closer to the husband. Actually, I wasn't even thinking about that in Eglinton. And her aunt is a realtor.
Yeah.
So her sister both got together and tag teamed and told him, no, we want to go with the aunt. She'll do it for cheaper. Pender charges 5. She's going to do it for less. And we still went over back at my point. And so I just went heavy with, who is she? I never heard her name.
Yeah.
I'm, ranking this much in Mississauga, this much in the area. We charge more, but is she gonna do this? Is she gonna handle that? How long is she been in the business? You got a tenant, it's a hard situation, yeah, right? And we know how to handle these. And we were able to win her over just again by just vomiting our,
Yeah.
just right at her, like, this is what we bring to the table, here's our value proposition, and we did win them over.
Yeah, that's great. Congratulations
Thank you.
and good job. Yeah, it's always important to keep promoting your value. Some points to remember when you're making these discussions, a few of us have already touched on it, but even if you have a close relationship to one party, you owe the same level of duty to everybody. So if you have an agency relationship, you have an agency relationship. You owe them that honesty, that integrity, that same level of duty. So you let them know that you're both going to get market updates at the same time. You're both going to get reports, feedback, cancellations, confirmations, reviewing requests. You all get it at the same time. The only thing that might differ, so I was dealing with one that was very acrimonious, where they didn't even want to be on the same email thread. So like I had to confirm with them, how can I communicate with you? Can I send you both the same reports at the same time? And they were having none of it. So I'd say, okay, well, one of you is going to get it a few seconds before the other one, but I had to send the same report twice. I had to send the same feedback. But to Pinder's point, I let them know that you both get the same information. Don't tell me anything that you don't want her to know. Don't tell me anything that you don't want him to know. I can't keep secrets within this transaction. Now, if you're helping them with something else, so let's say they're selling and they're each buying or renting somewhere else, I can keep that part of it separate. I don't have to tell him when you're doing an offer, where you're moving. That's between you guys. But as it comes to this listing, there are no secrets. And that usually made them comfortable. Yes, Jim.
Both parties don't want to be on the same email thread. Couldn't you do it as a BCC? They don't see each other getting, but at least you send it out at the same time and send it once.
You could do that. Yeah. I just ended up sending it twice at the time.
See BCC, but they won't see the fact that.
Yeah.
You just have to make the email more generic.
Yeah.
You can't use their names. I
Yeah.
did that on the last deal that I did
Yeah.
because they were separating, and yeah, I didn't want to rewrite the whole thing every time. I even set them up on a text between the two of them, and not that they didn't want the information. They responded better to texting than to emails. So I just set them up on a text with both of their names on it.
Yeah.
Getting the full on the same.
Right.
Same text. All communication will be coming to both of you at the same time. I lucked out and never had any problem.
It's important to get that information out there early. So I was dealing with another one a few years ago where one spouse wanted to move and the other one didn't, and they were making everything challenging to the point that listing the house was court ordered, right? Neither of them could afford to buy the other one out, but one didn't want to leave. So I kind of got the impression that the one that was staying in the house was going to make it difficult to show, and they were going to, make it difficult to book appointments. But once I let them know that, like, you're both going to get like any updates on cancellations, feedback, then the pathway seemed to clear a little bit. It was there's fewer barriers put up, but until that point, I think that one spouse felt that they could just cancel and the other person wouldn't be the wiser because they weren't living there. So you want equal communication to everybody. Yeah.
So what was interesting with this deal that I just did, when I started out, it was like I would talk to her and then I would talk to him. And then his lawyer sent her lawyer something about what I said.
Yeah.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So at that point I said, okay, I'm putting you both on either a BCC or a like, it's going to be written. What I say is what, and then there's no contest.
Yeah.
Now about what I said and your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
So it is important to do that.
Yeah.
Rather than just having the two verbals.
Yeah.
Because they weren't happy with each other.
Yeah. It's true. It happens. Yeah. So I think we've already covered this. Promise to include both sides in all communications, both get feedback, updates, information. Ask them how they want to be communicated with, but whenever possible, try and do it in writing. So you have a paper trail that you did things equitably, and inform them that they cannot ask you to keep information from the other party. Now, Having said this, sometimes you still can't convince them to use you, or you might feel that you are you might feel that you're not going to get this listing. So at this point, we can get into a scenario that Jim had mentioned where you can have your own representation. And that comes in the form of 650. It's called a co-brokerage agreement between multiple listing brokerages. We've seen this a few times here. Where you can sign a listing with multiple brokerages. The reason you want Form 650 is, again, you want the paper trail of who's responsible for what, and you're going to outline everything. So this is what the form looks like, Form 650, and you need to outline everything. Whose sign is going on? Who's putting it on TREB? Who's putting it on OMDREB or BDAR? Or because sometimes one will put it on one board, one will put it on the other. Who's going to hold the deposit? Who's going to negotiate everything? So, so you want to outline which brokerage is going to be responsible for these transactions. And also, you might not be splitting everything equally in terms of commission. Most often when I see this with a co-brokerage agreement, they're splitting it 50-50. But sometimes the one party may just want somebody to review the paperwork before signing, and they might do that for a flat fee or a small percentage. So you have to negotiate between yourselves as well.
Is that on this form too?
It would be under, you can put it on here, or you can put it in the listing agreement in the Schedule A. When you get an offer, typically you would both be reviewing the offer before the parties sign. So the best way to do it is that, so let's say that you were co-listing with somebody from Remax. The best way to do it is that if you receive the offer, you would notify the other agent first, and then you would review it together before conveying it to the parties. Not because you need to collude or anything, but just so that you know what page everybody's on, right? So, and then you try and, whenever possible, you try and review everything together with the spouses. But if that's not going to work, or if they're just not going to do it, then you just want to make sure that the same information is going to be conveyed.
So you are colluding a little bit.
It's not colluding in like, hey, how do we persuade them to take this? It's information to make sure like that you're interpreting any conditions or clauses the same way. Or is there some reason why this closing date is fine for the soon-to-be ex-wife, but it's not going to work for the ex-husband? So because you're really negotiating between buyer and seller and spouse, and they might not have the same track record, right? So, or they might not have the same goal. So the one that I was dealing with in 2015, one person bought earlier than the other one, and the other one, it was harder for them to qualify. It was hard, like their criteria is a little bit different. They were looking for something that was a little bit different, so it was taking longer. So if they got a closing date that was too quick, it wasn't going to work. So you have to make sure that you're going to align their goals as much as possible. And so let's say you're representing the wife and I'm representing the husband. If the wife and the husband aren't talking, you and I might need to communicate that, hey, this closing in 30 days, that might be great for you, but we're nowhere close to that. We need 90 days. So there has to be open communication.
So only one sign goes on the property? Can two signs go on the property?
Well, that's where you put it here. Like, there's one sign faced west, the other east. Like it's you have to talk about everything, right? Yeah. Yep.
Oh, different.
Yeah.
That's the reason why.
Yep.
And I was like, why there are two different signs, like from different brokers?
Yeah, and then typically you would put in the comments that so if, let's say I was listing it on TREB, I might say listing co-brokered with Sandra Diab from Royal Page Meadowtown Realty. So you need to outline all this.
Every agent has to sign a listing agreement separate, right? So you have two
Ye-
different listing agreements.
Yeah, but it's like, because you're gonna have potentially two different data sheets, right? So you don't have to sign a separate listing agreement if you have this, because this is the listing agreement, but you might sign separate listing agreements for the data sheet. So if, let's say that you're loading it on the Barry board and I'm loading it on Treb, we would have two separate listing agreements then. But if we're just putting it on one board, you just need the one, but you need this co-brokerage agreement.
What if I was listing it on Barry and Trek? Then it's the same thing, you just need the one,
The one listing agreement, but two data sheets
Right.
and the 650.
right?
No. Yeah. Make sense? So this is, I just zoomed in, so you're just going to outline who the different brokerages are and check off what the different responsibilities are. And if you need more space, you see the schedules, you can add a schedule to this as well, where you're getting more information about how everything's being split. Yes, Jim?
Property, they have, it's that, the Family Act. How does that affect things? Marital
Spousal consent.
Spousal consent. Is it just spousal consent?
Yes. It's still spousal consent, but you can still have multiple listing brokerages, right? So the most common time that this is used is when it's a marital breakup. But sometimes you just get a seller that has two best friends or two family members and doesn't want to ruin a relationship by choosing two different people, so they ask them to work together on it. So you can use it in other scenarios, but so you can still have one seller with two agents. It's just not ideal.
Who is this? Like, I've never heard of this before. I've seen two signs like years and years ago, but I've never been aware that you could even do that.
I've been aware of it for years, but I don't know when it came in. This is, again, this isn't your first choice. Ideally, you're going to get it yourself. But
Yeah.
if you just can't, or you think you're going to lose it, and you think that you're still providing more value, and you have this relationship that you want to protect, then this is something that you can offer. You can only have one, right? And only one lawyer can. They're going to have to agree.
Still disputing, the lawyer could be the.
No, these people had separation lawyers and they had to get a separate lawyer for the real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had their individual lawyers for their marital. But the two of those lawyers agreed on another lawyer to handle the real estate.
It is very hard. You're dealing with it.
These guys were great.
Look on both of you, I see grow.
Yeah, I'm sure that would, yeah. Yeah. Would that work? Do you think that would work? About as well as about as well as telling your wife to calm down if she's upset? Relax.
That's my favorite.
Okay, so I am going to end the recording here because my mic won't work for Scott, but I would like to welcome Scott to the floor. He's going to he's been using ChatGPT to again create scripts with natural language. So thank you, Scott, for coming in. Yep. For those of you listening to the recording, you should have come in.